Happy day 22 of Dopamine Detox. I just arrived at work. I am going to be running in there in just a couple minutes. If you watched last week's vlog, you know that I was under the weather with a stomach thing for a few days. Today I feel better, but just a little kind of shaky, probably not eating enough. And so anyway, I did not try to work out. I did not try to do any kind of my physical therapy. I did God time. I prayed, but I feel wonderful. So I think that's part of the whole thing with getting rid of things that are sort of that fast dopamine, but also replacing with things that are really beneficial. And then if some of those things you can't do, it's not the end of the world. I mean, that's kind of the, that ebb and flow that we all have to live with. However, I was paying attention mostly today when I was praying to some of the things that I might struggle with that I would consider things that might create anxiety for me or stress. And sometimes I think I am hoping to make all of the right decisions so that everything in the future for me or my kids or whatever will be, the best or whatever. And as I was praying about all of that, it's like I felt like God was reminding me that he can work through this way or that way. It's not like he is limited by my decision. Of course, I pray about it. I pray that I will make, good decisions. A lot of it right now for me has to do with how much guidance to give to kids in my life. They're adults at this point, so it's not like I need to be parenting them the same way. And I think sometimes I feel like, if I do it this way, maybe that won't be the right way for them. Or if I do it this way, maybe that won't be the right way for them. And I'm realizing more and more that either way, I'm operating out of love and God can work through it. And so I think what I'm concluding, which some of you will laugh at me because I've talked about this for years, it's not about me performing well or perfectly. It's about allowing God to work through a situation despite what I do or despite how I choose. And obviously we don't want to go making poor decisions on purpose, but sometimes it's not black and white and it's not right and wrong. It's just a different way of handling things. And so some parents may choose to do this. Some parents may choose to do that. And guess what? God is sovereign. That means that he can do what he's going to do. So to me, it takes a lot of pressure off of me. And it reminds me that God is my God in the past, present, and future. And that he is leading through all of the things, not just through my quote unquote right decisions. So I'm going to run into work. That was my little thought for today. A blessed dopamine detox day to you too. See you later. Love the after the rain walks because of those clouds. Gorgeous. Taking a quick prayer walk. I'm still in my kind of slower mode, I guess, today, but it's a beautiful, cool day and we have a break in the rain. So it's a nice walk with the beautiful sky. Just gorgeous. A nice, beautiful, cold, after the rain kind of a day for work. It's absolutely beautiful, but you know that after rain smell? I just love that. It smells so good. Day 24, and I'm out on a prayer walk, but it's middle of the day before I start work. So I go to pray with some fourth graders on Wednesdays. And so I did that this morning, cleaned the bathroom, made some plant-based tortilla soup, cleaned the kitchen, things like that. And I actually took a 10-minute nap. I'm not sure exactly why. I was really tired and I had a headache, and it was not like I didn't get enough sleep last night, but 10-minute power nap. I never used to be able to take naps before, so I used to be confused by people that could take a nap in the middle of the day. Now I have no trouble with that whatsoever. So, but I'm taking this quick prayer walk, trying to get some fresh air, get sun on me, because I'll be inside for the rest of the day. And I think we're due to have rain again tomorrow and the next day. So, also last night, I intentionally spent some extra time praying and reading and stuff, and I had some pretty cool dreams. So God really gave me some good encouragement, and yeah, good way to start the day. I have to do the math. Good morning. It is day 22, 23, 24, 25. Day 25. Cold, but also really pretty, beautiful. Early morning. I already did some weightlifting with my daughter's boyfriend. I did a little bit of my God time. I'm going to go home and do a little bit more, maybe with a second cup of coffee. Today is a less scheduled day, and people that know me know that I do a variety of things, and I kind of always have. I guess during the heart of my career, I primarily only had the one job, but before that I used to work multiple jobs, and now that I have the flexibility, I enjoy doing a lot of different things. Some days are highly scheduled, and then some days are not, and today is one that is not, so I can definitely appreciate that. It is a beautiful day to soak in the actual healthy dopamine. It rained all night, so we have a crisp, cool morning. Beautiful, kind of feels extra wintry today. Okay, take two. I deleted the other video footage because the video was going crazy, kind of interesting. I was talking about religion and it just started going crazy. So let me try to restate what I was saying. So I'm reading from the book of John. I'm in chapter 12, and I thought I would share some of my thoughts, my prayers, and processing. And I think whether you grew up in church, still go to church, used to go to church, don't go now, whatever you might believe, there's an interesting history of Christian faith. My friend Pastor Jim did a really good job of putting together the history of the Christian church and really the way that it was intended, the way that following Jesus and what that would actually look like. And of course, man gets involved, people with our sinful way of, thinking and always wanting control and power and all of this stuff. We throw things off and do things in a way that was not what Jesus intended. Thankfully, we have the Word of God, so we can go back to it and say, okay, what is the way that Jesus wanted us to live? And when he, in this chapter 12, he does a lot of his teaching about really what it looks like to follow him. There's some talk about the Pharisees, who, if you just use that in religious terms, it was the people in power in the church at the time, and they wanted the greatest influence. And interestingly, their desire for power, influence, money, control, all of that led them away from the truth. And Jesus talks about a woman who poured the most expensive perfume on his feet, recognizing who he was, that he's the Savior, and being willing to sacrifice finances, money, a great deal of money back then. The amount that she poured on his feet in perfume, they say, could signify either her inheritance or just a very, very large sum of money. And of course, even one of the disciples, Judas, found fault with that because he was driven by money, not by truth. And we find that through all of time. And it really doesn't matter what religion you want to look at, but they all have this common theme of influence, power, control, things like that. And yet, Jesus gives us the opposite instructions. And this you can see if you look closer. I oftentimes put a date for when I'm reading this passage and when I kind of spent extra time maybe contemplating it. And I'm just going to read it to you. The person who loves his life and pampers himself will miss true life. But the one who detaches his life from this world and abandons himself to me will find true life and enjoy it forever. If you want to be my disciple, follow me, and you will go where I am going. And if you truly follow me as my disciple, the Father will shower his favor upon your life. This, to me, is kind of, to most people, the opposite of what we go for in this world, in this life. Most people think the more money, the more things they have, the more that they will have happiness or what they want out of this life. And people find that that actually does not leave them fulfilled and happy. So this truth is, if you choose to live the way the world promotes, then you're going to get what the world gives you, which is not peace, which is not life, which is not that depth of joy. But strangely, when you choose to follow Jesus, not church, not religion, not the kind of traditions of man, but if you truly follow Jesus, you experience life. You experience actual peace, which is kind of strange because you don't hear that message too much. You think in the world that you're getting peace or happiness through your own self-worth, self-accomplishments, money, getting the things that you think you want, and yet they often leave you feeling empty, like it's still not enough. There's still something missing. So I love that, because when you embrace this and you don't try to reason according to the world, this shows you what you're missing. And you don't have to figure it all out. You just have to ask God, I need you to lead me. I want to follow you. I don't need to reason according to what the world says. I want to go where you're going. And he will lead you. Oftentimes it's one step at a time, one day at a time. He doesn't usually give us like the entire script, to the movie. We have to take it one step at a time, one day at a time with him. So I love this chapter. It really shows you the difference between following what humans say and following Jesus, and what that actually can lead to. And as for me, I'm following Jesus. Okay, last but not least, for at least John 12, and what I'm going to say about it is, I got to verse 46.
I have come as a light to shine in this dark world, so that all who trust in me will no longer wander in darkness. If you hear my words and refuse to follow them, I do not judge you, for I have not come to judge you, but to save you. If you reject me and refuse to follow my words, you already have a judge. The message of truth I have given you will rise up to judge you at the day of judgment. For I'm not speaking as someone who is self-appointed, but I speak by the authority of the Father himself, who sent me and who instructed me what to say. And I know that the Father's commands result in eternal life, and that's why I speak the very words. My camera has gone bonkers. Okay, and I know that the Father's commands result in eternal life, and that's why I speak the very words I've heard him speak. So just going back, I have come as light to shine in the dark world, so that all who trust in me will no longer wander in darkness. And, you know, when you look at the world, it does seem like a lot of darkness. And yet, when you refocus on Jesus, what he has done for us, how he is shining light into our hearts, I don't know why you wouldn't want to follow him. He has come to save us, and then we get a choice, follow him or not, and then we get the result of that at the end. And it's not because it's somebody is better than somebody else. It's just a matter of who you decided to follow. Did you decide to follow your own will? Did you decide to follow what the world says? Or do you believe what Jesus said and chose to follow him? So we just get the result of that at the end. And yeah, maybe easier said than done. I think the world offers a lot of things that seem temporarily enjoyable or helpful or whatever. But at some point, I think we realize that those things are not lasting. And that's why, for me, I just keep coming back to the truth. That is where I rest.
Day 28. And here's my 2 cents on Dopamine Detox. Extremely worthwhile, and probably one of the most helpful things for me is just not having to make a decision or toy with the thought, oh, I'll just, pop on social media. I'll just watch one video or whatever. It's really easy when it's just like it's not an option. So we'll see how the transition into, incorporating things again, how that all plays out. One thing that worked really well for me in the past was just not even having the app on my phone. Granted, I haven't had like Facebook, Instagram, things like that on my phone for quite a while. But even for YouTube, if I want to watch a video, it's better if I just Google search the person or the video that I want to watch or listen to, versus having the app, which takes me into their algorithm, and I end up watching a lot of other things that I had not planned on. So that's probably how I'll do it, where I won't have the app on my phone, and I'll just know, okay, this is the person that I really want to hear what they're talking about. And I think that will probably make it a little bit more of an intentional plan. So yeah, looking forward to it. And just been very peaceful and kind of interesting. Like, I leave the house for my prayer walk without headphones and I forget about it, because it used to be that if I started leaving my house without headphones, like, oh shoot, I need headphones, either playing music or listening to a podcast. Now I get to the end of my walk and I'm like, oh, I didn't even bring my headphones this time. And so, yeah, it's kind of listening to the birds, hearing kind of like natural sound of the wind and things like that is very soothing. And I think we've lost that in our current culture. It gives you a lot more time to think about your thinking. And I think that's a huge blessing. So wonderful toward the end here, as I don't feel those gnawing cravings to be distracted. Wrapping up week 4 of Dopamine Detox, and this is day 28 as I'm filming. I am ready for church, and I'm like, let me film this before we get off with the day. I have quite a few things on my agenda today, so I was thinking about this with the wrap up here, because technically 2 more days, but pretty much, I got the gist of it now. And my friend had asked me what was the most challenging part of this dopamine detox. And I would say that you all have heard this probably in my previous videos, but just in case you haven't been around for all of that, I would say for me, the hardest part is when I'm doing a monotonous type of job that doesn't require a lot of mind thinking, whatever, being quiet, not having a video or a podcast or something playing. I notice that that's probably the hardest time. If I'm actively doing something like housework, or let's say I'm taking a walk or something like that, even driving, it's not that difficult for me because I have kind of an outlet for the energy. But if I'm sitting and doing a very monotonous task that doesn't require a lot of thought, but enough that I have to be present, obviously, those are the times that I notice that it's harder to stay alert. I do get a little, I guess maybe drowsy. So if I push through, which I have been, I notice that peace, quiet, and stillness is very welcoming, inviting, and you really do get used to it. But it is kind of strange if you are used to having something else keeping you stimulated, right? And for me, again, things that are physically active, like even if I'm cleaning the kitchen, cleaning the bathroom, vacuuming, things like that, I don't find it that difficult to just have nothing. It's just sitting. And if I'm reading, I'm fine. Obviously, I've got something that my mind is going toward. But so I don't know if you have ever tried doing a dopamine detox, what part of it was challenging for you? I do think that some of the binge-worthy content that is put out there is, in some ways, it can be very inspiring to me. Like if I'm watching YouTube videos of somebody that I can just watch another and another and another of their videos, sometimes I do get very motivated by their content. So I don't always know that that's necessarily a negative or
a problem or whatever. I do think that maybe understanding where you want your intention to go, and we have to navigate ebbs and flows. I talk about that a lot in stuff that I write, as well as some of my videos in the past. It's easier, and you probably picked up on this on my little prayer walk that was prior to this. It's easier when it's all or nothing. If we're doing a sugar detox, it's easier for me because I don't even have to think about it. I'm just not eating anything that has sugar in it. There's no decision to make. There's no cutoff point that I have to determine. It's black and white, very clear. That makes it easy for me. Things like social media. If all the apps are off my phone and I have determined that I am not going to go on them for 30 days, that's really not that hard for me. It's when you have to weave it back into your life, or maybe you don't have to, but maybe you want to weave it in some capacity. What do you do when you start taking a few steps down that slope, and then before you know it, you're sliding? So I think we have to be able to live in that tension, or that in between, where maybe we're on more alert to that feeling of my focus is going, and I want to be using content, using things that are out there in the world to benefit my life, but I don't want to be a slave to any of that. And we unintentionally and subconsciously become slaves to something. All of us do. If you are not a quote unquote slave, or driven by purpose, by things that are important to you and intention and all of that, then you will be a quote unquote slave, or driven by distractions. And so if you choose the path that is more intentional and focused, it may be sometimes a little bit more challenging, because the default mode is always chaos and kind of, just flying by the seat of your pants. But if you're living more in that purpose-driven, focused, intentional mindset, it makes it a lot easier to turn away from all of the distraction type of things, because it's a positive energy that you're putting in and receiving back on this other path. I think when we first started talking about this dopamine detox, I said, to me, it's really important not to put all my attention on what I'm not doing, but put my attention on what I am doing. And the reason for that is nobody lives happily with a deprivation mindset. If your mindset is, I'm being deprived of all of these things during this detox or whatever, you will get through it potentially, or maybe not. A lot of people fail just because they are feeling deprived the entire time. People don't do things that don't make them feel good for very long. So the solution is to do the opposite. What am I benefiting? What am I gaining? What can I see is so amazing about this other way? And when you channel that energy toward that positive and all of the benefits, it doesn't feel as appealing to go to this other stuff. And so to me, you do have to be, first of all, understand where you want to go. Understand, if you're going to do something like a dopamine detox, why are you doing it? It's very, very, very easy in the middle of it to lose your reason. And when you do lose that reason, you will default back to what negative behavior you were trying to kind of turn away from. It's very it's very much the way our brain works, is that you have created that habit track and you've done it through repetition. We all do. And you just have to determine if there's something different you want. And when you do that, then you start pouring your energy into creating this new habit track, and then you get the benefits of that. I am going to make like a wrap up video, which it kind of is sounding like that right now, but I kind of feel like I should make a wrap up because I do still have 2 more days left. But in addition to that, what is it like getting back into regular life after a dopamine detox? So I think that that would be a important video to create maybe in a week or two. I am going to predict that I will not do it, quote unquote, perfectly, because it's not something that you can measure that easily. But I do think that we can kind of step outside of ourselves and look and see, hey, this is working, this isn't working. Even though I might have gone back to some of the stuff that I used to do, it doesn't feel the same. Maybe some of it I really want to keep in my life and other parts I don't. But I think it's good to reflect, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I like that I did this toward the end of the year because it's giving me kind of a good framework to use for going into a new year. Most of the time, people that I listen to, either for their content or friends that I talk to, this is kind of that time of year where you look back over your year and you're like, oh, what worked, what didn't work, why, all of that kind of thing, and then projecting into the future. So I think that this has given me a lot of good foundation to carry into the upcoming year. And I'm really, really grateful. I have a couple of friends who have faithfully done this with me. It's not easy. It's not something that, everybody is interested in doing, maybe at the same time. So I've been grateful that I've been able to do weekly check-ins with them. And so shout out to my friends who have done that with me. And if you decide that you want something like this in the future, I think that it's good to have at least one person to be accountable to, that you can talk to, and they can kind of help remind you of what your reason was for doing this. It just kind of gives your brain something to hook onto. And so I would highly recommend that. If you have suggestions for like a challenge type of month group, whatever for me to do in the future, let me know. I love, probably one of my favorite things is hosting community-based growth projects. It just came off the top of my head, but I suppose that's what we would call it. A group can be small of us doing something together that helps us to move into a different way of thinking, living, moving, having our being. So anyway, thanks for being with me for the 4th week of Dopamine Detox, and I will see you in the final video, and of course all my other content that we'll be posting. I hope that you're living on fire.